like you guys saw, I had Seth Joyner on here Thursday. We had John McMullen on Saturday. And I told you I had another special guest for you guys, did I not? And it's draft week. And we have so much to talk about because the Philadelphia Eagles, the word around town is they may be moving up in this draft. That's the word around town. But let me not bury the lead here. Let me not waste any more time. You've heard this gentleman on 97.5 The Fanatic. You've heard him on 94 WRP, then and still currently. You've seen him on CBS 3 as an anchor. You've seen him on NBC Sports as an anchor. He's hosts multiple shows. This dude has a deep pocket of shows on the resume. That's the person you call when you need a wheelman or a mediator, a point guard. You've seen him on Jacob Sports. You've seen him on A2D Radio. He's written for NBC Sports as well. Multi-talented guy. The voice, the charisma, the look, right? Also knows how to push a button, right? He's produced also for ESPN. He's also an adjunct professor at Temple University. So not only is he the voice, not only is he the look, not only is he the man, he's the big man on campus. Temple alumni, got to respect that. Did I mention he's a 2-time Emmy winner? Let that sink in. 2-time, not 1 time, 2-time. I consider this man to be a friend. I consider him to be a mentor. I consider him to be a confidant. And I hope he sees me the same way. Philadelphia's very own golden boy, Rob Ellis.
Yeah.
Man, we are here.
Come on, Tone. Come on,
sir.
Man.
Yes,
you
sir.
are, first of all, you're the greatest hype man ever. That's obvious. That goes without saying. I missed you. It's been too long since you and I have gotten the chance to hang out, number one. Come on, give me a hug, man.
Yes, that's my man. My man.
I love you. I love you. Everything you
too,
just said, man, the feeling is so mutual, my man. So mutual. So I'm thrilled to be with you. I'm thrilled to be hanging with you. I'm thrilled to see you, man.
Definitely. It's been some time, man. And you and I both mutually have had our fair share of a transition period, but they can't kill us.
No.
We will not die. We are what did Mike Tyson say? Impregnable. We're the best ever.
You're right. You'll appreciate this. Right before I came on, not that I need to get hyped to be on with you, but I was watching Rocky Balboa. It was on. And the scene where he's talking to his son and he talks about what the world will do to you. Okay. And it's a mean place, and it's going to knock you to your knees. Right.
Yes.
But we know how that speech ends. And that speech is, man, it ain't about how hard you get hit. All right. It's about how hard you get hit. And you know the rest, Tone.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it.
It's funny.
It.
Me and you had that marriage at Robbie, at Rocky, man. Me and you had that. We're akin when it comes to that, man. Man, you can talk about the Rocky movies all damn day, man. But first and foremost, before we get into the content, I know we have so much to talk about. It's been a while since we spoke. How are you, my friend? How's everything going? How's the family? How's the wife? How are the kids?
Yeah, everybody's good, man. My son graduates Temple in 2 weeks, which is freaking crazy. Yeah, 2 weeks from Wednesday, man. Unbelievable. So all good, brother. All good. How you doing? How are you? How's the wife? How's the transition? I see you dressed up the backdrop, get the sword going there a little bit.
Yes, sir. Trying to marry my interest here. I'm an anime guy, and all that kind of stuff. So I try to marry my interest. Got the globe right here. You know what I mean?
I like it. Yes,
for sure. But things are going well. The wife's going good.
Good. Man.
The content is booming. We're having fun over here on the side.
You're killing it. Chalking up sports, man. Lock it in. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Can't stop, won't stop. So enough with the pleasantries, my friend. We can do this all day. Man, you can have a bromance all day, but this is not why the people came here.
Yeah.
The people came to hear your perspective. And we have a lot to talk about. A lot's happened since you and I have last spoke.
Yeah.
Let's just start with the offseason, right? Let's start with the beginning, right? The Eagles made a lot of moves.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley, Bryce Huff, GJ makes his return, Devin White. They cut Avonte Maddox, then bring him back. They add Devontae Parker and Paris Campbell to the wide receiver room. They add a bunch of linebackers to the room as well. They trade Haason Reddick. I mean, so many things happened since we last spoke, but let's just start here. Give me your overall perspective, your overall takeaways from the Philadelphia Eagles off season as of today.
Biggest takeaway is one word: unconventional for them. If you would have, I mean, you and I, if we're doing the show 4 months ago, and I said to you, they're going to be out of the chute with the biggest offer to a running back we've seen in X amount of years, we would have both laughed and said, come on, man.
Right.
It's a depressed running back market. There's no way they're doing that. No way are the Eagles doing that above any other team. So here's what I think, Tone. I think more than anything else, they realized they were a little stuck in their ways. They realized they had to get out of their comfort zone a little bit. They go out there, they spend on a running back. They bring CJ back, which I don't think in years past they would have done. It was almost an admission we made a mistake. It was also a sort of a mea culpa that we are bad, those kind of things. And then they come back with that. Not only do they do that, what's up, Cody's nuts? Why not only do they do that, okay? They go out there and they bring a linebacker in. They prioritize that in free agency, which they don't always do. And I know it's a little bit of a risk with Devin White. What I'm leading up to here is, Tone, my sports gut is telling me there's a big move coming. Now, that can mean a couple different things on draft night. It can mean a big trade up, or it means it's going to be something like an A.J. Brown kind of deal where you're moving picks to bring in a player on the roster. It just sort of feels like that. Like, I think even though they brought in Bryce Huff, I didn't like it, by the way, but the trading of Hassan Reddick tells me something else is going to happen here, man. Like, it just feels that way to me. It could be somebody on the defensive line, but I think there's one of three ways that they go in the draft. I think they go O-line, edge, or corner. I think it's a lock that it's going to be one of those three. And I know the first one is not going to make Eagles fans happy.
As you know, it's interesting, right? You know, you brought up a very good comparison. The A.J. Brown sign and trade, pretty much. You know, when they traded for him in 2022, then they signed him. Maybe there is a big move coming that's similar to that, right? It's funny you brought up A.J. Brown because, unfortunately, his name continues to be in the media for the most fascinating reasons. And he changed his profile picture to Tom Brady, and all of a sudden the world became a hellstorm. And now he wants out of Philadelphia. And I don't want to load the deck on you. I want to hear your opinion about everything that transpired in that situation first, because again, we have a lot to talk about, and I want to cover the draft. I want to get more into the offseason. But since you brought up A.J. Brown, I got to attack that head on. When you saw all that transpire in the media, how he handled it, how the media responded, how the fans responded, what was your perspective?
I think that AJ, even though he'll tell you he loves being, I think he protests that he doesn't like, being always talked about, always in the media. And he'll tell you that. We know we heard it, right? We heard it from him. But if you notice, he'll go about 2-3 weeks and be laying low. You don't hear anything from him. And then all of a sudden, it's something. Now, do I think it's the biggest deal in the world that he has Tom Brady as his avatar or whatever? No, but you never just discount things with him. You know what I think? Here's my overarching opinion here. If you said to me, is he going to be an Eagle in 3 years, which isn't crazy. I mean, I know his deal would be, they'd have to extend him, but in 3 years, he's going to be what, like 29? He's not even 30, I don't think, in 3 years, whatever. Close to right around there.
Yeah, his contract, he's currently 26. Okay. When his contract ends, he'll be 20, he'll be 30. 29 going on 30 when the contract ends.
But if you said to me in 3 years, is he still an Eagle? If I had to give you a percentage, the percentage would be more no. And I don't think it's because of his ability. I just think eventually he kind of rubs you the wrong way to the point where you may move on. And they just gave Smitty the bag, right? We know that. But here's the thing, man. With the way the defense is set up right now, and it's right now is the key to that, because the draft can make a huge impact if they trade for a player, if they get a guy who's legit, who can play right away, whatever. But the way I look at it right now, they're going to have to outscore teams, Tone. So this offense is going to have to be prolific, like really good. Because frankly, if you're asking me about the defense right now, at best they're mediocre. So anyway, did I think the Tom Brady thing was that big a deal? I didn't think it was that big a deal, but there's always something with AJ. And I hate that we're in a day and age where we overreact to things like that, which we do. But he also likes to tweak people. Keep that in mind. He likes to play with you. And I think part of it, he like gets off on that, man. He enjoys like, look at what these people are doing. These knuckleheads are overreacting to me just changing this thing up. And he likes doing that to us. So keep that in mind too. He likes to play games.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. When I saw it, I'm like, really, you guys, is it a slow media day or what? But at the same time, part of me, and I spoke about this on the show previously,
Yeah.
AJ Brown, I think he knows at this point, he's on thin ice, to an extent with media and people alike, right?
Yeah.
I think he knows what he's doing, but at the same time, I don't like the narratives when people say, he wants out, or the Eagles should trade him. All these. I'm glad the Eagles are denying all the calls, obviously, because my perspective, it's exhausting for me. I don't really get into the whole media games. That's never been my mindset. So I'll never understand it. So I don't even like the trolling aspect of it, from his side of things.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, we're in an era where we're so reactive to the slightest inch moved by our athletes and our organizations, right? Respectively. So it is a fascinating situation though. But the draft, right? I want to transition to that.
Yeah.
You mentioned it could either be O-line, corner, or what was that third position?
Edge rusher is still definitely in play, I think.
Okay, now there was a rumor that they may be moving up.
Yeah.
Adam Schefter reported it, and the Philadelphia Eagles, they have moved up, I believe, 4 out of the past 5 years in the draft to get their man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's kind of roll with that. Let's say in a hypothetical situation, they do happen to move up. How far do you think they move up, and what players do you think they're targeting?
Yeah, I think if you're moving up, if they move up, it's going to be for an edge or a corner. I think they'll stay pat if it's going to be an offensive lineman. Here's what you want if you're the Eagles, don't. You want, which I think is going to happen, the rush on the quarterbacks. That's fine. Go crazy. It's JJ McCarthy, some of the guys who were expected to be like the third or fourth or fifth guys. By all means, Bo Nix, load up, everybody, load up on wide receivers, because all that does is let the defensive players and or the offensive linemen fall. I think the biggest thing you have to do if you're Howie, I think they have somebody targeted that they like, that they say, all right, if he gets to 17, he gets to 16, we're making our move. If that guy starts to fall like Jalen Carter did last year or Jordan Davis the year before, and they're saying to themselves, here, it's happening. That's where I think they make that move. I think one of those twos could go. They get what, they have 600 7th rounders or whatever. That can just sweeten the pot a little bit. But I am not discounting, man, that they make a move and potentially give their one up to bring in a player from another team. Here's what I mean by that. If there's one of those teams that really likes a quarterback, okay, and they're sitting there and they're at like, I don't know, 10, whatever. I'd have to look at the draft order off the top of my head. And they need something to sweeten their pot. Maybe you give them that one, you get a player back in return. That wouldn't surprise me, man.
Okay, let me throw this to you then.
Yeah.
The Denver Broncos are sitting at 12.
Yep. That's a good prime spot right there. Yes.
Eagles are at 22. So Are you saying that the Eagles, again, this is a hypothetical situation here. The only player I could see the Philadelphia Eagles trading for that can immediately help them at a key position is Patrick Surtain II.
100%.
That's the only player I can think of, because the rumor is that they're trying to move up. If they do move up, it's going to be for either Terrion Arnold or Quinn Mitchell, or maybe one of those edge rushers, but just stand on the corner side of things. Yeah. The only team I see maybe just outside of the top 10 that may want to move up further to get a quarterback, or the quarterback they want, is Denver. Now, granted, Denver did trade for Zach Wilson, but we know what that is. But Denver.
Here's the thing. Ask yourself this question, right?
Yes.
The 3 quarterbacks that they have on the roster right now: Jarrett Stidham, who would, I think, goes in as the starter right now, Zach Wilson, and Ben DiNucci. Now, if I Sean Payton, we kind of know what Sean Payton is. We know what he's been over the years. He is a guy that needs to have that quarterback, right? And you even look at last year, you could tell from the jump it wasn't working with Russell Wilson, whatever that disconnect was. All those years with Drew Brees. I don't know, man. Unless he really has a God complex where he thinks he can turn Zach Wilson into, some Pro Bowler, If he does, he's crazy. I think that was a depth move. I don't even know that Zach Wilson's 100% going to make that team. I really don't. But I could see that. I could see Sean Payton is as aggressive and has been in his years in New Orleans as Howie's been as the Eagles GM. He's a mover, man. They don't generally stay put. I could see that. I really could see that. And look, do I think they want to give up on one of the top 5 corners in the league? Probably not. But you know how crazy people get with quarterbacks, man. And if you could get up and get that quarterback that you want, if it's Bo Nix or somebody else who could still be there, wherever they're trying to get to, get up from that spot, I could see that happening. It just feels to me, it's hard to explain, but I just think Howie knows that he's got to do more to remake the defensive side rather than just counting on trying to get it right in the first or second round with some picks for guys who can play right away. I think he's looking at trying to get personnel, a body now.
I'm glad you said that because all the moves they made, even in this offseason, the way they construct the contracts, everything from top to bottom indicates they're trying to win a Super Bowl within the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And drafting a corner in the first round, although that can be a foundational piece and we don't know what that player will be, the Eagles don't really have the best of luck drafting corners as of late, especially in the Howie Roseman era. So to your point, right? Eagles trade their 22nd overall pick to Denver. They package it somehow. Denver sends back Patrick Surtain. That seems more like a Howie Roseman type of move because, again, Terrion Arnold, will he be a great player? Maybe. Quinn Mitchell? Maybe. Cooper DeJean? Maybe. Kool-Aid McKinstry? Maybe. Right? And I like all those players. It's a possibility. But Patrick Surtain, that's a sure thing. We know what that is.
Yeah, we know exactly. And keep this in mind too, Tone. You're counting right now on a lot of youngsters. You're counting on Jordan Davis, especially with the guys who, with Fletcher retiring. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Nakobe Dean to some extent. We'll see about that. Reed Blankenship, just to name a few. You're really, other than your corners who are like Methuselah, they're old. But other than that, man, you're counting on a lot of young dudes. Are you going to draft another corner and throw him into the mix and likely start, on the other side of Slay? I don't know. I don't know if you want to go with that many kids on that side of the ball. If you're trying to win, and I agree with your assessment, by the way, they are absolutely all in. You don't give Saquon that kind of money. You're already paying the quarterback a boatload. You brought the coach back. You brought in 2 coordinators who I'm sure you're paying buku bucks to be here. This is not the Flyers where a couple years away, a couple years from being a couple years. First of all, the Eagles don't operate that way. They're always in win now mode unless it really, really implodes. And
they've given out to the free. If you notice, every free agent's gotten a 3-year deal.
Yes,
not 4, not 5, 3.
Yeah,
They've given 3-year deals each time.
They're still in good cap shape, but if you go by NFL spending this offseason, they're in the top, I think 3 last time I looked. It's at least top 5. So you're not doing all of that with looking at 25 or 26 or 2027. You're looking at 2024, man. So a move out, like a maybe of a draft pick versus I know what this guy is, makes more sense to me in this spot.
Okay. So we've broached the idea of them trading their pick to get we broached the idea of them trading their pick to get some pro personnel. We broached that. Patrick Surtain, we broached that, right?
Yeah.
Now, which players, if they do trade up, right? Are there any players that you favor right now? Are there any players that really stand out to you in this draft class? And for me personally, right? I've always kind of going back and forth between should they go corner, should they go edge? But I feel like I've always found myself back to corner because I look at that corner position right now. I see Darius Slay, 32, 33 years old. I see James Bradbury, 30, 31. James Bradbury does not have his stock is not up right now in Philadelphia. And I was talking to McMullen.
You're being kind.
Yes, exactly. I was talking to McMullen the other day.
Yeah. And
he was saying the Eagles have a lot of flexibility to get out of that contract as opposed to June 1st cut. It won't hurt them at all financially. So
really? Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. I was surprised when he told me that. I was like, really? He was like, yeah, post June 1st, it actually won't. I mean, they're going to take some kind of
Yeah, I
casualty,
think
but
you could probably spread it out a little bit too.
right. So if they either trade for a Patrick Surtain type or draft a corner, that guy immediately plugs in and has to play. But again, are there any players in particular that you like personally on the defensive
so I'll
side?
give you a couple that I like, and let's say they don't move. Okay, let's say forget everything
I like that. I like that. Let's do that.
They do the rare thing where they sit at 22. Okay, it's a possibility that Wiggins falls there, and Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. Now I know what the concern is for some people. He's skinny, man. He's skinny Batmanish, like he's in that weight range. Okay, so I get it. I get your, I think he's like $175. I forget what he is. Whatever. That's the concern. I went back and I watched a lot of him just to see if he was kind of getting thrown around a little bit and whatnot. You know what? I'm not worried about it, man. I think he would be a really good selection for them there. I love his coverage skills. And what I saw a lot was teams staying away from him. Like, and we know sometimes interceptions can be misleading for a corner because if teams aren't trying you're not going to get picks. It's the old Deion Sanders thing. Deion didn't have a lot of interceptions. Nobody threw it. I'm not saying this kid's Deion Sanders, by the way.
Right, I got you.
Everybody loses their mind. But what I'm saying is this guy's a really good player who played at an extremely high level. I know he played in the ACC, not the SEC, but Clemson's competition is pretty damn strong. So he's a guy, if you're staying put, to keep your eye on. Okay. Now, I'm just going to stay on the defensive backs for a minute. Then I'll jump to.
No, you're fine. Please.
But if you're looking for versatility, I would say Cooper DeJean, you'd have to move up. But if you're looking for versatility, I think he brings versatility because he can easily play slot corner, which I don't think they're. I'll tell you this, Tone. I know they brought him back, and you mentioned it right before you brought me on. I don't know that Avonte is a lock to be here. I think he will. I don't know that he's a lock. You could plug Cooper DeJean in there to play slot corner, or he can play safety. So
wait, who you talking about? You said
Cooper DeJean, the kid out of Iowa.
No, you said someone's not allowed to be here.
Avonte.
Oh, Avonte. Avonte.
Yeah,
Avonte. Sorry.
Sorry,
my apologies.
No, that's Avonte. Okay. So, but why I brought that up was I know everybody's saying, well, they brought Avonte back. Obviously, they don't love Avonte.
He's competing with Tyler Hall, if you ask me. They brought in that corner from the Raiders,
yes.
slot guy, young guy, Tyler Hall. They cut Avonte, then brought him back at a very, very low number. He's competing like everybody else.
Well, let's face it, too. I mean, and I like Avonte. I think we all do. But he can't. It's like the Joel Embiid thing. You can't stay on the field, man. So that's the issue with Avonte. All right. So anyway, but he could be a depth guy, Avonte, at the price. The price would make sense for him to be a depth guy. So Cooper DeJean, I think you'd probably have to move up. I like Kool-Aid a lot. I like Kool-Aid's size, and he's really smart. If I had a knock on Kool-Aid, and this isn't going to be an issue in the NFL.
Is it the name?
No, I love the name. That's a win, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The knock was he would be disinterested if they were playing scrubs. He would kind of check out and he wouldn't have he played up to the level of his competition is what I'm trying to say. So sometimes you would see him sort of drift a little bit if they were playing, Little Sisters of the Poor. But you're not going to get that in the NFL. So he's another one who easily could be there at that spot. So there's a couple names that I like as far as defensive backs. And that's what I do think, because they've been so unconventional this offseason, that I know they don't draft that position very well. And I know they rarely even go there. I mean, think about when was the last time they even went borderline that high? It was probably Sidney Jones, right? Which didn't work out.
In the Howie era, yes. Sidney Jones, maybe Rasul Douglas, I think. But I think it was Sidney.
Right. And Rasul, I think that was a Jim Schwartz thing, man. Rasul could play. He just never got the right opportunity. Anyway, that's a whole other rabbit hole.
But the last corner they drafted in the first round was Lito Shepherd. And that was
we're talking 20 years ago, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's been a minute. But I'm saying, even though that's been the case, they've done everything unconventional this offseason, right? So why would you now all of a sudden say no way? So I think it's a possibility that happens. That they do that they move up a little bit. If they're not getting the vibe that they could get a Surtain or some, one of these beasts, some killer or whatever. I think you could see them move up, man. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. It really would. Now, as far as edge guys, this is tougher. It's a tougher read on this position, I think, from a draft perspective, because a lot of this is going to be based on these guys going crazy on quarterback, on receiver, on O-line. But there's a couple edge guys that I look at. And Chop Robinson, the only issue I have with him out of Penn State is he's a little bit undersized. Now, he will be there, I think. I think he's there when they pick most people's boards. I think the first three, Tone, are probably out of their reach.
Laiatu Lotu
UCLA, Latu.
Yeah.
I think he's way gone. I think Dallas Turner out of Alabama, and I think the kid Verse out of Florida State is gone.
Yep.
After that, I think everything else is up in the air and is a possibility. And I think they could grab one of those guys.
Okay, so staying on the hypothetical that they don't move, right? They have a first and 2 seconds. What do you think the first three positions will be? Because it's hard to say players, I guess, but as far as positions go, what do you think the first three positions will be chosen with those first three picks? And what do you think they should do? So
all right, I got you. What the Eagles will do versus what I would prefer.
Exactly. Yep, give me both sides of that. Yep.
I think they go offensive line. I think they're going to draft a guy who likely played tackle. Now, I'll tell you why this drives me crazy in a minute, but I'm going to answer your question. I think they take a guy who played tackle who could swing and play guard. Now, doesn't that sound like Tyler Steen? Isn't that what we heard about Tyler Steen last year?
Sure did.
What happened, man? Like, he's not ready to swing in there at guard. Now, I know part of this is they're looking towards Lane, who can't play forever. I get it. That makes sense because they lost Driscoll. They lost a lot of depth.
Sua Opeta,
like real depth guys on the offensive line. So that's not a little thing. So if Lane goes down and or Jordan Mailata, God forbid, either one of them go down, you look at the depth chart now, woof, the tackle depth is bad. And they value that so much, man. So I think you could very easily be looking at a lineman. And what I would prefer they do, again, this is if they don't trade. I'd prefer they draft a corner. But I think they're going to go offensive line. That's just the vibe I get if they don't make a trade.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I really can't argue with that. They granted, to your point, they've done some unconventional things thus far. The one thing I didn't see coming, even though it was talked about, but I felt like this player's production should have kept them in the building. Hassan Reddick. Right. That move, it was talked about, right? And it was always a possibility, but part of me still felt like, they could work something out, right?
Yeah.
It was like my fan side said they can figure it out. But the commentating side of me, right? The analyst side of me said, I think that man is as good as gone. So I had two competing thoughts when it came to Hassan Reddick situation. I'm curious to know where you were with the Hassan Reddick trade situation, and do you think the Philadelphia Eagles mishandled the situation, or do you think they kind of, handled everything par for the course?
I can't say they mishandled it because I don't know what went on behind the scenes. Like, I don't know what Hassan's asking price was. If he was saying, hey, I want to be the highest paid edge guy in the game, and the Eagles were like, dude, we could go here, but we can't go all the way up there with you. That's the part that's really hard for me to kind of figure. I don't like it. If you everything we just talked about a second ago, where you're going for it this year and everything you've done has mirrored that, and then you're going to trade him for future picks. I know one of them could become a 2. I get that, and that's very valuable. But for picks that aren't going to help you now is a weird move to me. It's a weird move. And what it also tells me, there may be a greater disconnect that we don't know about. Like, I do wonder, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form insinuating like he was the problem. He's why they lost 7 out of 8. I'm not telling you that.
Right.
But I don't know that it wasn't a situation where maybe, just maybe, Vic Fangio said, you know what? What he does doesn't work for me. I need somebody who can drop, can get into coverage, and he's just not going to fit the bill. He's especially not going to fit the bill for the money that he wants. That worries me a little bit. I'm a big believer in playing to players' strengths. And let Hassan Reddick tee off, man. I'm not asking Hassan Reddick to get back in coverage.
Hold on, wait. You said something. So do you
Yeah.
think they weren't negotiating with him in good faith? And I don't want to muddle what you were saying, but what I
Yeah.
was based on what you were saying, I took that as they weren't negotiating with him in good faith. Like you said, Vic Fangio, maybe, just maybe, he looked at Haason Reddick and said, talented player, but isn't the player I need. Right.
Yeah.
But the word is that they were negotiating and trying to work something out. That was the word.
Yeah.
It's confusing a little bit.
Something is not clicking for me with this whole thing. And like we were saying, it just doesn't make sense to me. If you're just trying to put you lost your best defensive player.
Your most productive as well, yeah.
And I know people will say, oh man, what did he do the last blah, blah, blah. What did anybody do on both sides of the ball the last 7-8 games? So don't lay it all on Hassan Reddick. Nobody played other than Smitty. Yeah, I'll give Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham props, but whatever. There were very handful of guys played well and everybody else stunk up the joint. The thing is, I still look at a guy who played the first 3 games with a cast on his hand and then went on a run where he got 11 sacks in 10 games in the middle of the season before Matt Patricia took over and everything went into the abyss, right? I don't want to lose somebody like that. And I don't think he's cooked. I think he's got 2 or 3 good years. I know there's some concern when you're just a speed rusher and you're undersized that if you lose that step, you're not the same guy. I don't think Reddick's there yet. So I didn't like it. Now, I don't know about good faith or I don't know. In trying to figure this out, I'm just trying to put together as many pieces as I can put together. And when I know Fangio likes his edge guys to get into coverage sometimes, and I know that's not a strength of Hassan. So I don't know that wasn't just one more thing on the bad side of the ledger in terms of bringing him back. It's just a theory. I don't know.
We talk about Vic Fangio, the coaches they brought in, right? Kellen Moore, Clint Hurt, Doug Nussmeier at the quarterback coach position. I mean, they brought in like a handful of new guys. The only remaining guys really is obviously Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, Stoutland, Aaron Moorhead at wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think Jeremiah Washburn is still here, but for the most part, they really kind of just threw in a fresh crop of coaches. I want to get your perspective on adding Vic Fangio, adding Kellen Moore. What do you think their impact is going to be, especially when it comes to player development and, getting Jalen Hurts back on track on the Kellen Moore side?
Yeah, I'll start there. I mean, I'm excited about the offense, man. Now, I know it's a big deal losing Kelsey. I get it. And we don't know exactly, how Juergens is going to step in there and what's going to happen at that guard spot. So that has to be said. However, I'm a big believer that Jalen Hurts bounces back. I'm a big believer that he's one to look in the mirror and realize, yeah, things were a mess, but I got to be better. I got to take care of the ball better. I got to go through my progressions better. I think he's an accountable guy. So I think, and I also, man, you could already see, and I'm not going overboard with the shots of those two guys working out together, but it's clear that he's excited for Saquon, and that's good. And we know they're going to stay true to Saquon in terms of giving him the ball, whether that's running it or swing passes or whatever. You don't pay the guy that kind of money and ignore him. It's not going to happen. So he is going to make life easier on Jalen Hurts. He's already got Devontae Smith, who's happy. He's got his contract. AJ, I don't know if he's happy, whatever, but AJ's a stud. And for the most part, a good offensive line. You still have Lane Johnson. You still have Mailata. You still have Dickerson. I expect the offense to be good. I expect it to be humming. I think Kellen Moore has something to prove. I think it was a mess last year with the Chargers. I think he's pissed off at the way it ended with the Cowboys. So I think that's going to be good, man. The offense is they're going to be back to top 3. I believe that. I think Vic Fangio's got his work cut out for him, man. I mean, I don't know. Jordan Davis needs to show me that he's ready to be an adult and be a pro. And he seems like a super nice dude, but I don't care. I need you to be in shape and play 17 games. I don't know about Nolan Smith. I really don't. Why did, Josh Sweat drop 5 sacks last year from the year before? That worries me. The Kobe, I don't know. Devin White. Yeah, I think he's on a 1-year prove it deal. So he's going to go ball, I would think, if he still got it in him. But what happened at the end there at Tampa? And then we just talked about the corners and the uncertainty. I like bringing GJ back because you got a guy who's going to take the ball away. But we're sitting here right now, man, and we're being honest with ourselves, what's the ceiling of this defense? Mediocre? At best, that's where I'm at with it. So I like Fangio, but I think he's got his work cut out for him.
Well, to your point, right? They were at the bottom of the barrel on defense in 2023, right? They were literally, I think, bottom 5 in
You're
every
right.
meaningful, category. When it came to the stats, right? I think a reasonable expectation from last season to this season is to get that team from being bottom 5 to at least being top 15, top 14. Because if your goal is to make the playoffs, right? If your goal is to win a Super Bowl, I look at it from this perspective, right? 14 teams make the playoffs, 7 from each conference, right? So just based off the sheer math, if you can get that defense to being 14 or above, based off the math, that's a playoff level defense.
You'll score enough to offset that.
Exactly. And I think that's the reasonable expectation for me, at least. Because here's the reality. As lethal as this offense is and could be under Kellen Moore and with the talent, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, God, at the O-line, I mean, I can go on. There's going to be weeks where they may move a little slower than normal. Right. There's going to be a week where maybe a guy gets banged up and maybe they're missing a wheel or two. There's your offense is not going to be able to come out guns blazing for 17 weeks straight. There's going to be moments where that defense is going to have to hold water for that offense to get their bearings.
Yeah.
And that's where I get nervous with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I do too. Here's what makes me nervous, right?
Yes, go.
When you have some limitations on that side of the ball, if you can at least pass rush, you can make up for a lot of things. So if they can pass rush, right? If they're able to get to if Sweat gets back to being what he was in 2022, if Nolan Smith's the real deal, I love Jalen Carter, so I don't have any doubt about him. But you're going to need these guys on the defensive line. The other thing is, Tone, they fell apart against the run too the last 8 games. But anyway, if those guys can just get to the quarterback and disrupt his timing, you can cover up for some of the things on the back end. That's going to be the key to this thing is what do you have there in terms of those guys getting to the quarterback? That's why I say edge should not be discounted here in the draft in the first round, because you can never have enough edge rushers.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny. You brought up Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter many times. And, Fletcher Cox, that era is done. The Jason Kelce era is done. These young guys that you have now, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter on the defensive line, Cam Jurgens at the center position, he's expected to come in and be the man. Mm-hmm. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Fletch isn't here anymore. You guys are expected to be the guys and to play north of 60% of the snaps likely. Mm-hmm. Now, in saying all that, I want you to break down the amount of pressure on Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Cam Jurgens, because they're at pivotal positions for their respective sides of the ball. The defensive line is the anchor for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles, no matter what team they've ever built, they've always predicated it on their defensive line and stopping the run. If they can't stop the run, they can't stop anything. And then Cam Jurgens, that relationship with Jalen Hurts has to be synonymous.
He's gonna call out protections, man. I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm going to say this, and I know it's not going to happen. Eagles fans are going to have some degree of patience with Cam Jurgens. You're stepping in for a legend. You're stepping in for a first ballot lock Hall of Famer. They're big shoes to fill. Okay. It's not going to be perfect all the time. You're going to see pressure up the middle sometimes. There's going to be issues sometimes up the middle that we weren't accustomed to seeing, with Kelce. And there isn't anything Kelce hadn't seen. So he was recognizing, anything that was happening. So you just have to have a little bit of understanding with that. Now, as far as the other two go, Fletcher Cox is a huge loss, no doubt. But it's not like those two guys haven't played that position in the NFL. This will be Jordan Davis's 3rd year, Jalen Carter's 2nd year. What I expect and what needs to happen is you can't see the fall off. We tend to forget because it ended so bad. Jordan Davis was really good the first 6-7 games, not only against the run, but affecting the quarterback. And then it was like after that, we talked about it. Mm-hmm. After the Buffalo game, when he chased Josh Allen out of bounds, that was it, man. That was it. So what has to happen is, he's got to come in with the mindset of it's not about like getting to the end of November or December. It's getting to February. And this isn't Georgia. You're not playing 13 games, and there's not 10 guys behind you who are all Americans who are going to step in and play for you. Like, you got to show up. And what teams are going to do, Tone? You're going to see two guys on Jalen Carter. Mark my words. Until Jordan Davis proves it to everybody, Jalen Carter is going to catch the brunt of this. He's going to get doubled, man. So there's going to be opportunities if a guy as athletic and big as Jordan Davis is, and he's getting singled, he should win. He should make plays. I think Josh Sweat will bounce back. I don't know what happened at the end of last year, man. I don't know. It was a total catastrophe. I think he'll bounce back. I don't expect a ton out of BG. He's there as almost a player coach. He gives you 5 sacks. I'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's true.
What you need is Nolan Smith to be a guy. Nolan Smith was a first-round pick. We act like he was a fourth-rounder. We're always just like, no, he's a first-rounder, man. And I don't care that he's a little bit undersized. Hassan Reddick was undersized, and he's been double-digit sacks 4 straight years. You had your red shirt year. Now you're counted on. You better be able to get home. So I don't know. To answer your question, I am not sold on Davis, and I'm not sold on Smith, and I'm not sold on the Kobe Dean. I'm sold on Jalen Carter. He's the guy. He's the most faith I have of the young core.
Yeah. I'm sold on Cam Jurgens as well. It's just a matter of his health, right? I mean, he only gave you 11 games last year at right guard. At center, you're going to be in the mix, quite literally. So I'm sold on Cam Jurgens' talent. I think he knows what he's doing. Yeah. But it's funny that the common thread between all these guys is these are players the Philadelphia Eagles have invested draft capital in. Before you came on,
I draft capital.
Exactly. And also, really quickly, I see your guys' super chats. Thank you guys so much for donating. We're going to address them. I just want to keep the conversation going here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, James Carver, and thank you, Twiz. I appreciate you guys.
What's up, guys? Good to see everybody too.
For sure. But the common thread is these are all guys that the Philadelphia Eagles have drafted. And before you came on, I started the show talking about the Philadelphia Eagles beginning to identify their new core leadership council, right? Their core foundational players. I'm a firm believer that those players can only be found in the draft. Now, granted, you can find a guy via trade, but I'm a firm believer that if a guy gets traded once that first domino falls, he can be traded again and again and again. So when you draft a guy, that goes on the GM's resume. Right. He wants that player to win. He wants to pay that player, right? And also, typically, the contracts are always more favorable when you pay the guy you drafted rather in free agency where you normally overpay, right? And the sad thing about all this that I'm saying is when I did the math and looked at all the core guys that they've drafted and extended, they're all on offense. None of them are on the defensive side. Jordan Davis, TBD. Jalen Carter, as much as we love him, it's still TBD long-term, right? No one in the DB room that they drafted and invested in long-term. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles have to do a better job at drafting, in particular on the defensive side, and then investing in those players. But I say all that to say, have you began to identify the new core group of players? Because the new era is here.
Yeah.
Fletcher's gone. Jason Kelsey's gone. Lane is still here, but that clock is ticking.
Right.
And BG, we know what that is.
I'd say Mailata on the offensive side, we know he's a fun dude. He's great. But I want to see him be more vocal in the locker room. So I think he can definitely take that role on for sure. Devontae's kind of quiet. I don't know.
He does have the C on his chest, though. So
yeah, you know what, though? And then I think about it. I'm going to put Devontae in that category because he was the one guy. Well, not the one guy, but one of the guys when everything was going south. Was even before it started going south. He was like, "We got to clean some things up, man." If you remember, he was one of those guys when they were like 7-1, whatever, who was saying, "Yeah, I know we won, but." I remember. Do you remember that game? I forget what he did, and they were trying to. He went over 1,000 yards. I forget. He was like, "I don't care about 1,000 yards, man. We're not playing well enough on offense."
Yeah.
So I would say Devontae, Jordan Mailata on offense. If I go to the defensive side, man, this is tricky. This is really tricky. There really isn't that young guy yet. Like part of being the leader is you got to prove it on the field, and really, what young guy has proved it?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. And even if I try to lower the stipulations and say, okay, all of the guys don't have to be leaders, but foundational guys you build your team around, right? I got Landon Dickerson because you paid him, right? You drafted him, you paid him.
Yep.
Jordan Mailata, you drafted him, you paid him. You extended him twice.
Yes.
Jordan Mailata is on his third contract.
I know.
Devontae Smith just got his second contract, right? Jalen Hurts, I think that goes without saying.
Yep.
Beyond that,
no, I don't know that Dallas Goedert's here for a long time.
I don't, because of his health.
I don't know that he's here a long time, and Slay's not a long-termer. Bradbury's not a long-termer.
But that's my point, right? They had to figure that out.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a little out of the box one. If Sidney Brown can come back and be healthy, it's a big if, because he is a fireball, man. I mean, he will throw his body around. I appreciate that about him. He stays healthy. I think he's the real deal. He feels like a leader to me. Now, he's got to get back. He's got to be right. He's got to play well. You can't be a scrub. Let's be real. And you can't be hurt all the time and be somebody who's a mouthpiece. You got to be on the field and be that dude. And I think he has the ability, but he's got to show it. So to answer your question, I don't know that the obvious guy is there on defense yet. I think someone's got to step up this year. We may be at the end of the year say, damn, Nolan Smith, man. How about that second year?
Right.
We could say that. We could very easily say that.
Right. Jalen Carter, he's on track.
Jalen Carter, right on track. Or, hey, we were all wrong about Nakobe Dean. The guy he played 17 games. And I'm saying all this, and I'm not believing all this, but I'm just saying this could all happen in a perfect world.
No, I agree. And, I just look at it like, okay, you're figuring it out on the offensive side, right? You're drafting guys well. Remember, in the Super Bowl, that whole offense was drafted except for one guy, and that was AJ Brown. So you're drafting well on the offensive side of the ball. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Defense, if guys are either not panning out, or you got to find a way to fix the mistake in free agency. And now you're burning money at that point. They have to become a better drafting team on defense.
Look at it this way, Tone. You're likely, I think you're likely start. All right, right now you're looking at Slay, Bradbury. I don't think Bradbury's going to start, but Slay, Bradbury, CJ, GJ, Blankenship. We'll see about slot corner. The only guy, and actually he wasn't even drafted. Blankenship was an undrafted free agent. Now, to their credit, that was a good spot on a guy, and they brought him in. My point is, that's a weakness. They have not done a good enough job, especially at corner, recognizing talent, and it's scary.
Let me take it a step further for you. I'm glad you said that, and I'm kind of going to I don't want to say contradict, but I'm going to challenge my own thought here. We talk about them drafting well on defense, which tells me that, in saying that, that's putting the onus on the player, saying that they're not panning out.
Yeah,
but have we ever really seriously considered the fact that, okay, maybe it's not the player, maybe the player has tools, but they're not developing players well on the defensive side.
The most underrated thing in sports is the second part of the 2 Ds: draft, develop. You got to get your guys better once they get in. Stoutland develops. Mailata got developed. They didn't rush him. He got developed, man. Okay, and became that guy. They have not developed well enough. I agree with you. Man. Like, this will be Nakobe's 3rd year. This will be Jordan Davis's 3rd year. We should be seeing development in these guys. Like, they should take that next step this year if they're being taught right, if they're being developed right. That's a great point. You're right. And we see guys go elsewhere and succeed in every.
You said it earlier, Russell Douglas,
Jordan Poyer 100 years ago.
Good point.
So we've seen those kind of guys that you got it right, but they went and had success elsewhere. So that's on the organization and the people you have in place.
Yeah, Rob, I really appreciate the time you've given me, man. I also want a couple more to throw at you.
Sure.
Your time is so valuable to me, my friend, and I do not take it for granted. You guys, make sure you continue to smash that like button. Make sure you guys stay engaged. You're locked in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm here with my main man, Rob Ellis. Rob, the NFL is going through once again, a transitional period, in particular on the defensive side. And what I mean by that is they've enacted some new rules when it comes to how defensive players can tackle the offensive guys. Now, I'm not a fan of it. I want to get your spin on it. I don't want to load it up. Just give me your overall perspective on the NFL banning this hip drop tackle. Real quick, I asked Seth Joyner about it. He said the term didn't even exist until the past couple years or so, right? John McMullen, same thing. Yeah. So what's your perspective on this this ban of tackling guys the way they? I don't know. I don't get it. You just go.
Making it impossible to be a defensive player. I mean, you can't breathe on guys in coverage now without getting a flag, and now you can't tackle them. Like, I get what they're afraid of. They don't want to lose the stars. The offense sells. That's the sizzle. I get it. Okay. But how are you what are you supposed? The other thing is they're turning this into, we can sit there and watch a slow motion replay and say, should have done this, should have done that, when it's going like this. When it's real time, you're asking these guys to try and tackle Saquon Barkley in an open field and do it the exact way that you're supposed to do it. Some guy who's got quads that are like this. Like, what am I supposed to do, man? I think it's impossible. I really do. I think it's an impossible ask what they're trying to do to these defensive players. I think we're going to see flags on this, and guys are just going to get up like, what am I supposed to do? How would you have done this?
Derrick Henry coming down the pipeline. What do you do?
Yeah, I know. I'm not kidding, man. I mean, you're talking about a tight end who's 250 pounds, and what am I doing? You know what you're going to get? You're going to get guys diving at knees. That's what you're going to get. Just trying to cut them. And then you're going to get blown out ACLs or fractured kneecaps. And we're all going to be screaming about that. And then it's like the defensive player is going to say, I can't wrap them and drop them and come down on them. You have to almost have a perfect form tackle, and good luck doing that when you have incredible athletes that are gigantic coming at you in those situations. I think it really sucks for the defense.
A couple things I want to add into that, right? When you're playing football, the last thing you want to be thinking, the last thing you want to be doing out there is thinking.
Yes.
You're supposed to be so prepared, so in tune with your keys and your assignments that you're not even thinking. At that point, your body's in a flow state. You're playing unconsciously, right? We're in a situation where you got these defensive players out there thinking more than they should, and I think it's going to lead to more injuries on that side of the ball. And then I'll take it a step further where I don't think anyone has even really taken it. And I've broached this with several different people. I think, and I'm going to get your spin on this.
Yeah.
Because the NFL is making it very clear that offense is their marketing tool, and they're going to do everything possible to protect these offensive players and make sure they can put the numbers up and put the points on the board, especially with scoring being down the past couple seasons. Let's keep that in mind too. The NFL doesn't like that, and even if it's a point. So I say all that to say, what's stopping these GMs, what's stopping these organizations from saying, well, you know what? My defensive players aren't allowed to be defensive players anyway. And offense is the calling card, and the offense sells, and offense is what the NFL wants. What's stopping me from investing more on the offensive side of the ball and divesting into the defensive side of the ball? What's stopping organizations from having that perspective? Again, why would I spend big money on defensive talent in free agency if the guy can't even utilize his full skill set? Why pay for that? So what's your thoughts on that notion?
An interesting point. It's a very interesting point. I don't know. Perhaps is there a correlation here with the resurgence of the running backs in the market, where teams are like, we're going to load up with running backs, we're going to load up with receivers, we're going to load up with tight end, quarterbacks. I don't know, man. Where I think you might be way ahead of this thing. What we might see this year is, if this is the case where defensive players are like rendered useless, then yeah, you might just load up and every game's going to be 40, 41, 33. No, that was the Eagles Super Bowl score, but every game is some crazy high scoring thing. It turns into arena football. That's what it turns into. And, I get it. It's good for fantasy football. It's good for, I'm sure, the bettors if you have an over or whatever. But there are a lot of people that still like defense out there, man, that you may be turning off. But you're right. That could be a byproduct of this. It really could.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think also, the NFL drop tackle ban took place during the annual owners meetings, right?
Yeah.
When did the free agency start?
Uh,
Because I think these teams saw this ban coming.
could be.
And to your point, they say, you know what? I'm going to put more money into the running back now. The Eagles. You know, the Eagles they love to be on the cutting edge of things.
Right.
Maybe they saw this and they said, okay, let's really put some money in the running back. Saquon Barkley, you can't even tackle him without the rule. Now you put the rule in there, he's going to be untouchable.
Good point. Yeah, you know what, dude? I'm not kidding. I think you might be onto something here. I think that could be the way that this shakes, especially early. And you're right. Whenever you see the Eagles are a zag to a zig. Like they're always a little bit ahead in a lot of ways to what the trends seem to be. And this feels like maybe there's something going on because they weren't. And it wasn't like they were the only ones who spent on a running back. You know, there were running backs.
The Packers with Josh Jacobs. Swift got a nice deal from the
Glad.
Bears.
Look, I'm glad these guys got paid. By the way,
for sure.
But yeah, I mean the money they spent on a guy who can not only run it but catch it may tell you something. And I also think they part of the reason why they did is what I said earlier. I think they know they're not going to be great defensively, and they're going to have to score a lot of points.
Last one, Rob. And again, I really appreciate your time, man.
My pleasure, man.
It's always fun talking to you. It's always fun kicking it. I got to ask you this. Have you expanded your palate? Are you is it still dried Cheerios for breakfast? Are you adding some strawberries in there, some fruit? Are you mixing it up a little bit, maybe sprinkling some raw 100% honey on there? I mean, are you getting freaky with the breakfast and the snacks and maybe dinner?
No,
is the food still not touching?
You could wind your watch, Tone. I am the king of consistency when it comes to boring eating habits, including dry Cheerios without milk. Nothing will change there. I am steadfast. I am locked in. There's a lot of change in life, but this is not one of them, man. Okay, this is not one of them. There's no evolution on that front.
I had to ask. I
know. It has not changed.
But Rob, before you get out of here, my friend, please promote anything you're working on. You know, your show on WIP.
Okay.
Please just go off and promote anything that you're attached to, my friend.
All right. I'll be back on Thursday. I'm doing the draft post, which I like this because I've done shows where I'm on in real time too, which is great. But I'm going to be on at 11 o'clock, right towards the end of the first round. The Eagles will have picked, I think, by then.
Yes.
And we'll have the ability to react. So check me out at WIP. You go to the Odyssey app for wherever you are in the world, and you can listen. But I'll be on at 11 o'clock Thursday, and then I'll be on during the second round Friday at 6 p.m. So Thursday, Friday, check me out.
Awesome. Listen, RE.
Hey, Tone, keep up the good work, dude. This is a great show, and you're kicking butt. And I knew you would, and I know you will. So keep it up.
You know, it's funny you say that. I took about a 2-week span to get my bearings in order, right?
Yep.
And then I had to ask myself, where are you mentally, emotionally? What's moving you spiritually? And eventually I had to look in the mirror and say, you got to get back to doing what you do best.
Yep.
And you got to get back to the basics. You got to get back to the grind. You got to get back to investing in yourself and trusting in your original vision. And that's what this is, man. I feel more powerful than ever. I feel more secure, more locked in than ever. And I'm truly excited. I'm truly excited about where Chalk Sports is going. And I appreciate you for being along this journey with me. And I personally don't believe that I'm here. I honestly do not believe that I'm here without having the experience that I had with you at Jacob Sports, with D-Gun, with B-Brook, Seth Joyner, Jody McDonald, Cilio, McMullen, Bill Colarulo, Kayla Santiago, Mark Farzetta, all those people. And I don't want to forget anybody.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you guys for really giving me a lot of tools. I even appreciate Jacob Sports for giving me a platform, giving me an opportunity for me to carve out my voice, and even allowing me to be in the presence of guys like you. Like I said, you, D-Gun, man, you guys are my OGs. B. Brooks are my OGs, and I really appreciate you guys, and I lean on you guys for a lot of insight You guys always kept it real with me. You guys always gave me a lot of jewels. And Chalk It Up Sports is a product of all that knowledge I've accumulated by being with you guys at Jacob Sports. So I'm always grateful for the opportunity, and I never took it for granted. And I'm grateful that we're here to able. I'm glad that you and I are able to kick it here and say that we survived, regardless of anything that didn't necessarily go our way.
Yeah,
I'm glad that we're here able to kick it, and I would love to have you on the show again, man.
Whenever you need me, you call, and keep it up. You're crushing it, and keep having fun, man. You know, we're talking sports, so let's keep having fun. All right. And I'm so happy for you, proud of you, and the growth. Incredible. The sky is the limit, man. The sky is the limit. Keep climbing. So I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Ari, I love you, my friend. We'll talk soon. My guy, you take care. Enjoy the family. Enjoy the wife.
Buddy.
Enjoy the dog. Congratulations to your son as well. Congratulations to South Carolina for going undefeated, winning it all.
Let's go, Don Staley. Let's
go. So we're here, man. And Rob,
man.
Listen, Chalk It Up Sports is a home to you, my guy. Take care.
Tone, be good. Love you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. All right. Man, that was awesome. That was awesome. My guy, R.E., Rob Ellis. I told y'all, talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. And I love you guys so much for always making Chalk It Up Sports a home for my special guests, man. And you guys are spectacular. You guys are awesome.